know Shane's whole story, she's out there. You can go to Young Law Group. Also, join us at Women Decision Makers if you're a woman in Vegas. This is such a cool, diverse group of women because it's women in nonprofits, it's women from corporate, it's women from who are entrepreneurs. I love the diversity of the group. So if you're looking for that, you can, Shane's open and vulnerable and shares a lot. Also, she was on the Real Money podcast 2-3 years ago. Like when I just started the podcast, you were on the podcast.
Yeah. I
And
can't
so
believe it's been that long.
it's been that long. And so we're not going to focus on all of that stuff. We're just going to get to the heart of it. And your real passion, of course, you're an attorney. You do business planning, you do personal injury. Your law focuses on so many things, but your heart is in estate planning.
Yeah. Our primary focus is estate planning. That's kind of the core of our firm. And ancillary to that, we have a lot of business owners that are clients, and I do have the business and corporate background. So we do serve a lot of business owners on the business side, from contracts to setup and, other assistance there, general counsel assistance there. And then personal injury, as you mentioned, we do have a division as part of our firm.
Yeah. We're just going to go to the heart of it, Shane. You know me.
Yeah.
Your best friend just died.
Yes.
And she passed away of brain cancer. Mm-hmm. She'd been struggling with that for a long time. But what you shared at Women Decision Makers last week was that it was more peaceful than most or many because of the care that she and her family took in the estate planning process. What was that like for them?
Yeah, it was, as you know, for any family that is experiencing a loss, it's hard enough. The emotions and everything else that coincide with that. And so thankfully for my best friend, Krista, we've been best friends since sixth grade. She and her family had come to me years ago when she was first diagnosed with having brain cancer and undergoing treatment. And so we wanted to make sure that everything was in order. All of her medical issues or concerns would be addressed as part of their plan. And then, of course, she had 2 young boys. She has a husband. They've got a house. They have bank accounts. They wanted to make sure all of their affairs were in order so that they could really focus on her care. And so we were able to do that. And I was able to be there, as the years went on and as her cancer progressed, unfortunately, downward. Mm-hmm. We were able to make sure that her family was able to focus on her, and she was able to spend the time with her kids and enjoy her family and the time that she had without having to worry about, okay, do I have all of these documents in place? Are my decisions going to be honored? What is it going to look like if I, if and when I do pass away? Mm-hmm. And we know for all of us, it's really just a matter of time. And so it was just an honor for me to be able to be there for my friend, as her attorney, but also as her friend, and to be able to guide her and support her family, which now that she has passed away, being there for her sons, being there for her husband, to be able to help them navigate life without her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's such an important role that you play for families. And we live in a DIY economy.
Yeah.
People want to do this stuff online and then enter in the world of Claude and Perplexity and ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. I can imagine the number of people now that are trying to do their own estate planning using AI, which is super disruptive.
Yes.
Why should people not do that? What do they miss in that process by not having an actual attorney help them?
Well, for me, I've put things into AI, into ChatGPT, and the answers are not correct all the time. Like there's a good percentage of incorrect information that this generates. And as you can imagine, there are always going to be shortcomings with technology, in various ways. So I've warned against the shortcuts from the beginning of my practice, even many years ago, just because I see what happens for people, for families, for business owners that don't invest the proper time or effort or resources into ensuring that their businesses or their planning, these things are properly set up. And, so before it was like, don't use Rocket Lawyer, be careful of, these things that you have access to online, because you're not getting the personal connection and being able to ask questions, and the questions being able to be interpreted in real time by, a real person that is able to guide you in the best way and has the expertise and knows all of the nuances that are going to be relevant to your situation. So that's one reason why, I focus on relationship. That's how I've always practiced. That's how I will continue to practice.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we're able to not just prepare a set of documents and say, okay, see you later, and hope that clients don't call us or reach out. And unfortunately, that's how most estate planning firms or document preparers work, right? They just want to get it done, get on to the next. That's not the best practice. And so, really focusing on the relationship, where when we put planning in place, as you know,
Mm-hmm.
as a client and a friend, that's really the beginning of the relationship, where we're going to want to check in and we're going to review. And as the law changes, as your assets change, as your family grows, as your family changes, we want to make sure that we're able to address those things properly within your plan so that it's dynamic and it really works the way that it's supposed to.
Let's add a little drama to this.
Yeah.
What is the worst case scenario? You do your estate planning through ChatGPT, you get it notarized, you think you're good.
Mhm.
What happens on the other side of that?
Yeah. Unfortunately, the reality for most people that do that is probate. And so probate, for those of you that do have experience, it's a court process, or those that don't know, I should say, it's a
Mm-hmm.
court process that requires filings. It takes a long time. It's actually a public process. So anyone can go and see what assets you have in your estate, who the people are to receive your
Mm.
estate. And sometimes it's not the people that you actually want, because if you don't take the time to plan and have these documents and these other parts of your strategy really in place, then it's a judge that's ultimately going to make these rulings. And it takes a long time. In most states, even for simple estates, it takes about a year and a half to 2 years, sometimes longer. In many cases, it takes a longer time because the court dockets are backed up. Other complications can arise depending on the different circumstances at play in the particular estate. And so it's really expensive too. So it's not just time that's
Mm-hmm.
wasted or time that's consumed. It's money. And typically it's about 5 to 8% of the value of your estate. So when we look at estate value, we're adding up the value of the assets that you have. So assets like your real estate, your bank accounts, your investment accounts, your personal property, your business or your business interest. Those are all assets that
Mm-hmm.
go into this countable estate. And even if you owe money, so say you owe, money on your mortgage, that doesn't have anything to do as far as what triggers a probate. So it's the value of your home, which in
Mm-hmm.
Nevada, it's we have a really low threshold that triggers a court process, which is $25,000.
That's it?
Yeah, $25,000, $100,000 in value for that requires a full probate. So most of us have that, right? If we have a house,
Yep.
if we have bank accounts, these are things that would add up to that total, and would require a probate, this court process that most of us want to avoid. But unfortunately, when we don't take the proper steps, it's by default what the reality is.
That's right. You're not in control.
No.
And we're here, both of us, in our own ways to help people take control.
Yes.
And you're not in control when you don't have the proper documentation. Because
Hmm.
if you're trying to save money or time,
Hmm.
not right now, that might save you money or time, but on the back end, it's not going to save anybody money or
Right.
time.
And it's going to cost so much more. It's going to
Mm.
cost so much more money. Usually it's tens of thousands of dollars more, or more than that. And it's your family's time. It's hiring an attorney to represent you, which is another set of expenses that you have to pay out of pocket. Your family has to
Mhm.
pay that up front and hope to be reimbursed through the probate process when the estate is finally distributed according to the court's terms. And of course, the thing that we talked about earlier, Lisa, like this emotional toll, this emotional struggle that we're often dealing with grief in the
Yeah,
midst of all of this. And we're not able to properly grieve and deal with the things with our family that need to really be addressed in the proper or best way, because we're having to focus on these other things that really could have been avoided.
that's right. I noticed with So I don't know if I've shared this with the audience, but yes, you said you're my attorney, but we did the whole estate planning process with you, and it was so thorough.
Mhm.
It was so thorough. And Jimmy and I just went to Mexico. And for those of you who don't know, my son's mom, my adopted son, Range's mom passed away in 2021. She was in Mexico when she passed away. So she ended up finally getting across the border, but she passed away in Mexico. And so for my son Range, he was really triggered by the fact that both his parents now are going to Mexico, and he was really, really scared. And it was because of our trust documents
Mhm.
and the folders and all of the details and the information that I felt really good about going.
Mhm.
And we knew we were coming home. We
Right.
surprised we made it home, right?
Yes.
Like no plot twist there, but I was able to look at Range and say, Range, everything is here
Mhm.
and you're going to be okay no matter what happens.
Mhm.
And it was because of the estate planning process and all the folders and the information and who we left the information to, and the kids had the phone numbers. We had it all prepared.
Mhm.
I don't know if I would have felt good about going to Mexico had I not done all of that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And it just gives you that, that peace of mind knowing in a worst case scenario, which of course we never want to happen, but we know things happen, that's just part of life.
Hmm.
That if anything were to happen, we've got all these bases covered. And that's one of the differences between AI generated documents or online documents, or even, like the cheaper options that don't cover these things. There, it's
Hmm.
not comprehensive enough to address if you've got minor children, who are under 18 at home. What would that look like for them if you didn't make it back? Who would be able to step in the short term, the long term? Like, how would they be raised? These are all contingencies that we need to be able to plan for, plus our pets, plus our
Yeah.
assets, plus our medical wishes, our end of life wishes. Who would be able to step in and handle our financial affairs, who could pay our mortgage decisions, and authority that we need to be able to vest in the right people so that
Hmm.
we can allow for a smooth transition if any of those things happen moving forward. So I'm glad that you had that peace of mind, and that you were able to go and enjoy that time with Jimmy. It's so
We
important to
were.
be able to take those moments as well.
We were, and also is the financial decision maker for the family. Jimmy knows that he's not as close to you as I am, but having those meetings with you, he knows that you're just a phone call away. And I think that that really helps him know,
Mhm.
okay, like he's not in the day to day of our finances, but he knows that that folder is in our safe.
Yes.
And he knows who to call, and he knows that you'll be there or someone in your office will be there. So that gives him peace of mind too.
And
Hmm.
that's been, another blessing of the work that we do. Unfortunately, we're going to die at some point, or something may happen. We might become incapacitated. And
Hmm.
so every day we get calls from family members of our clients that say, okay, well, this is the situation with my mom, or this is what's happening with my grandfather. What do we do now?
Hmm.
And for us to be able to support families in that way when things happen is so important to us, to be able to continue that relationship, because it's not just the clients that we have the relationship with, although that's where it starts, of course, but it's the extension of it's your family members, it's your loved ones, it's your kids that we want to make sure are properly supported and guided with those next steps, because if they're not, then it ends up being such a huge mess and more stress and grief that's not necessary.
Mess, stress, grief, fighting,
Yeah.
fighting. Money is just, it's a truth teller
Hmm.
about who people really are
Yeah.
at the end of life and on the other side of it. It's wild, the
Mhm.
things that I've seen. And I'm sure for you too,
Yeah.
as families are dealing with at the same time grieving
Right.
someone that they love.
And it often brings out the worst in people,
It
because
does.
these emotions come up and we don't always know how to deal with them.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I love about the work that you do is we both are planners, and we're both strategists, and we're
Mhm.
trying to get ahead of the issues before they pop up. And for those that don't have the benefit of working with someone like you, for example, to actually get an understanding of their relationship with money, which I love taking the quiz again this time.
Yeah.
I took it years ago, and I think some of my numbers shifted a little bit,
You're
but
still a spender.
yeah. So, it's just, even though I have some level of awareness of it, like it just brings it to the forefront again so that I can continue to work on maybe, things that would help
Mhm.
me to be, better in my place moving forward. And so those resources that you provide and the coaching, that you and your business and your team provides is so valuable, because when people don't have those resources and when they don't have their planning in place, I've seen in my own family, what happens, and it brings out the ugliest
It
of
does.
emotions and reactions. And then we see the division that happens with relationships. And I sit with clients all the time and they're like, okay, well, we have a really close family and I don't anticipate anything happening. I'm like, okay, totally understand, appreciate that. But I've seen even the closest of families where little things, if they're not properly addressed, they cause big problems. So let's take the time to address them now so that we iron all of this out and we ensure that, your family won't be in a situation,
It's so
and
true.
as unlikely as it could be. Yeah.
It's so true. I tell my clients it's similar to death and divorce are similar in the way that plays out, is that I'll have people come in and we're going to be amicable. We're going to be friends through this divorce. And I say, listen, you don't know who this person is going to be on the other side of
Right.
divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing as death.
Yeah.
You don't know
Right.
because the family dynamic changes when
Mhm.
one person's out of the equation and then you throw money into it. You don't know who people will show up. And then you throw grief on top of it, and it's wild. I've
Yes.
said that twice now in the interview. All that to say is when you have proper estate planning,
Mhm.
you can't control, of course, if you're dead, you can't control any of it, but you can have a say and do your best to keep things the way you want them to be.
Right. It's all
Yeah.
about making sure that your wishes are honored
Yeah.
so that there's no fighting. And to the extent that your priorities are, I want to avoid probate, I want to avoid taxes, I want to maximize the wealth that I've accumulated and
Hmm.
make sure that I'm passing as much down to my family as possible. Those are all the things that we're able to address
Hmm.
in proper estate planning. So that's one of the benefits of doing the life and legacy planning session, which you and Jimmy did together with me, is
Hmm.
we talk about all of these things. And I say, tell me what's important to you. What are your priorities? Because not everyone's priorities are the same. Some people
Right.
might be focused on, their minor children. Some are more focused on the wealth that they've created and making sure that their spouse is taken care of. Some are making sure that, their other family members or that the healthcare decisions are honored. It really, it could be a combination of things. It could be, some things that are more highly prioritized than others. And we just want to make sure that whatever is important to you, that is what gets addressed within your plan. So it's not a cookie cutter or one size fits all type of
That's right.
situation.
And our book, our estate planning book is this big.
Yeah, it's a pretty
So
big binder.
please don't leave that to ChatGPT to get all of the details about all of the little things. And then they're like the law is different based on, well, and you can explain this better, but things are different based on the kind of trust that you have.
Right.
And the thing that your attorney is going to support you with, that Shane would support you with and her team, is making those important decisions about, first of all, who is the executive? Who is
Right.
the executor
Mm-hmm.
of your trust? I have clients who don't choose their kids to be the executor,
Yeah.
right? It's
Mm-hmm.
not going to default be your oldest child.
No, no.
Yeah.
And that's, I was actually interviewed. It'll be airing next week, but it was my fifth interview that I did last week on the Tony Hsieh case. And
Mm,
so many of us are familiar with Tony Hsieh. He was the former Zappos CEO, and now it's been 5 years, 5 years
wow.
this month since he passed away unexpectedly. He was 46 years old. He had no estate planning that we were aware of at the time. Now there's this will that has surfaced. However, it hasn't been authenticated because they can't reach the witnesses that signed, haven't been able to be verified or reached. And so this is just like one other thing that has come up over the course of 5 years where, his family's been having to deal with this unfortunate mess. And in addition to the loss of, Tony Hsieh.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's all these different people that are coming out of the woodwork, claiming that they were entitled to, this
Mm-hmm.
or that. His ex-girlfriend, his former assistant, has this contract that says she was supposed to be compensated $30,000 a day. We've got all these properties here in Las Vegas, over 100 properties that Tony Hsieh owned. And there was some fraudulent activity after he had passed away where they were transferring these properties,
I bet.
yeah, fraudulently, and recording deeds. And now the family's having to deal with this through probate. Plus, there are ancillary probates in other states because he purchased real estate in Utah. And so now, not only in Nevada, we're having to deal with these other things. So yeah, it can have such a huge impact when we just don't take, if we're not taking the time to be able to make the decisions now and get all of these affairs in order.
Agreed. Yeah. What I think I'm hearing you say behind all of this is that estate planning will have the potential to be the to create the best possible outcome
Hmm.
in the worst possible situation,
Right.
or it can have the opposite impact and it brings out the worst of everybody when proper decisions have not been made.
Mhm.
What is there anyone who doesn't need estate planning?
Well, if you're over 18, then you need a plan.
Hmm.
And, your plan is going to look different. I share this all the time. Like a typical 18-year-old's plan is going to look a lot different than someone, who's like our age or in our demographic, that has these different, things that are present in our lives, businesses and other relationships and so forth. But if you're over 18, you need to have some type of planning. So anyone over 18, whether it's, very basic or foundational planning to very complex or more advanced planning. And you mentioned, there are different types of plans, there are different types of trusts. And most people, as we've been discussing, kind of the typical demographic, the typical family, typical household where we've got, bank accounts, maybe a house, those
Yep.
types of, most people need a revocable living trust. That's the centerpiece of your plan, and everything really should flow through it. So it really should address the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, and the how. And then those ancillary parts of your plan are things like healthcare directives or living wills, HIPAA releases, medical powers of attorney, your financial durable powers of attorney. Even when we set up a trust, our firm still prepares what are called pour over wills, just in case there's an asset that's not properly incorporated into your trust. Maybe there's an account that you forgot about,
Mm.
and now we discover it after you've passed away. Instead of having to do a full probate, we're able to utilize that will and say, hey, judge, we actually have a trust over here. This account or this asset just wasn't put into the trust. So can we get an order that pours it in without having to do a full probate? So we try
Mm.
to cover, or not try, we do cover really all of the different bases to making sure that your plan is properly set up.
And you mentioned the dogs. We have our dogs in the trust.
Yeah.
Yeah. We know who's going to take care of the dogs. We've communicated that to them. They know that they're going to get some financial support to do that.
Right.
And so if you have pets and kids and things that you own, you want to get it handled. Yeah.
Yeah. And with the revocable trust that, we were discussing as the foundation, that's most people's main part of their plan.
Hmm.
Something to keep in mind is that the main benefits of the revocable living trust are you're able to avoid probate as long as all of your assets are properly titled, and that we,
Yeah.
we guide you through. We actually take care of that. We can take care of that for you, so you don't have to
Yeah.
worry about that. We're able to avoid probate. That's one of the main advantages. And then also we can avoid taxes, certain taxes like estate taxes, capital gains taxes. And we can incorporate asset protection as the assets move from, say, a married couple. Like when one spouse passes away, we can build in protection for the surviving spouse.
Hmm.
And then ultimately, who your beneficiaries are that are going to be receiving those assets, whether it's your kids or other family members, charities. We can build in the proper parameters and provisions according to your wishes. But the thing to keep in mind is, and this is a common misconception, I see it and hear it all the time. People think, oh, well, I've got a trust. So if someone sues me or if the IRS tries to come after me, they can't get access to these assets. That's not true when you have a revocable living trust. So you don't have asset protection. So for you and Jimmy in this example, if you have only a revocable trust, while you and Jimmy are alive, happy,
Mm-hmm.
healthy for many, many years,
Yes.
if anything happens during that lifetime with the two of you, your creditors, these third parties, the IRS, someone that tries to sue you, any
Mm-hmm.
lawsuit, judgment, those are people that can actually access, the assets that are in your revocable trust. So revocable means you can change it at any time. It's very
Mm-hmm.
flexible. You maintain control. Now, if you're wanting to, but you don't have asset protection during your lifetime.
Yep.
So if you want asset protection, there are different types of irrevocable trusts, which technically these irrevocable trusts mean that you can't change them once they're set up. You
Yep.
have these restrictions, right? And lots of different types of irrevocable trusts you may have heard of, like an ILET, an irrevocable life insurance trust, or a
Yep.
Medicaid asset protection trust, or a grantor retained annuity trust, a GRAT. The main trust that we actually work with most of our clients on the asset protection side is the Nevada Asset Protection Trust. And Nevada is actually ranked number one for asset protection, domestic asset protection across the country. And you don't have to live in Nevada to actually set this up. But what you're allowed to do is set up this trust. And we work with clients all across the nation, whether they live in California or other states.
Mm-hmm.
And we base it in Nevada because Nevada has the best trust laws, the best tax laws, the best asset protection and business laws, as many of us
Mm-hmm.
know. So we're able to set this up. There are certain parameters that we stay within, but what we're able to do is essentially shelter assets during our lifetime so that if there is a claim, if there is a lawsuit, if there is a creditor in the future, no one can have access to those assets. So it's really being able to shelter our assets, maximize what we have available to
Mm-hmm.
us. So in a worst case scenario, we're talking about worst case scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
If we lost everything, in a lawsuit or to a creditor, then those assets would still be secure. So,
Yeah, I love that.
so yeah, most people don't know about that added level of protection that's available here in Nevada, and available to non-Nevada residents as well.
We're number one
Yes.
in something.
Yes, which is good. Yes.
I love it. I love it. You and I both work with a lot of women who hold the emotional load for the family. The
Mhm.
women decision makers community has been created for that reason. We women, we hold the ball in decision making in so many ways. Why do you think it's such a powerful tool for women when it comes to emotional and financial safety?
Yeah. Well, you said it. It's we're usually the ones that are carrying that load or,
Mm,
that burden because many times we're outliving our male counterparts and we're having to take care of the older generation, our parents, our grandparents, while we're potentially raising our kids and
yeah,
taking care of the generation below us. So we have a lot of these demands on our time, on our energy, on our focus. And it's just one less thing that we have to worry about when we're able to have all of our ducks in a row. And that's one of the reasons why women decision makers, why we started the group is
yeah,
because we were seeing women at the forefront. It was women that were really pushing their families and making it a priority to get planning in place. And not to say that men don't do it, but what we were seeing was, there's this trend of women that are coming into this space, which traditionally, was more of a male dominated
yeah.
area, finance, the clients that you work with, you've seen that where now some of these roles have shifted and we want to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and we're taking care of our families and making sure that we're not leaving a burden for the next generation
That's
to
right.
pick up. Yeah.
That's right. That's so important. Women are the decision makers. We are holding the ball. And when I ask audiences all around the world what's important about money to them,
Mhm.
the top thing that they share is that they want security and that they want peace.
Right.
And the kicker is that it's not the total amount of money in your bank account, which people think if I just have $1 million, I'll have peace and security.
Mhm.
No, no. Actually, it's exactly what we're talking about today. It's protection and making sure that your loved ones are taken care of.
Mhm. Yeah.
And if you knew that then I believe you would sleep better at night.
Right, right. And that's what it's about. It's really giving ourselves that peace of mind, that reassurance, knowing that, okay, that's one less thing that I have to worry about. And it's not something that you necessarily have to keep at the forefront. Once we put the planning in place, we'll reach out and we'll check in and say, "Hey, Lisa, how are things
Hmm.
going with you and Jimmy?
And you
Is it
do.
time for a review? Let's talk about where things are. You know, the
That's
boys
right.
are getting older. What are the things that we need to update? Or, hey, the law has changed here. Or, hey, there's this other opportunity now that you're in this different place that we can look at, you know, to be able to incorporate or implement as part of the strategy that's part of your plan."
Yeah, I love that. It sounds like I need to get back into a
Yeah.
conversation about an asset protection trust. I love it. Okay, let's switch gears to personal. You ready?
Okay.
So you have Kyra, Shira, Kaylin, Cameron, and Samara.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, well, I know them. I've had conversations with each
Yeah.
one of them to get to know them.
Yes.
And Kyra and Shira are graduating law school this fall.
Mhm.
And you are, congratulations to the Boyd Law Alumni of the Year.
Thank you.
And you're the first daughter mother combo graduating from Boyd
Yes.
Law,
Yeah.
which is a huge first full circle moment. And your daughters are now positioned to come into they're already working in the practice, but I'm sure you've talked about legacy. How
Mhm.
do you and Charles talk about legacy with the girls?
Wow. Well, it's interesting because we've really grown up, you know, with our daughters. We were relatively young when we had them, and so they've kind of seen the different steps that we've taken, the challenges that we faced, you know, the struggles that we've faced as a family,
Hmm.
you know, as a couple, to be able to build the business and the opportunity for this legacy that we have. So they have
Hmm.
a different level of appreciation, I think, although, you know, they have lived a very, you know, nice and privileged life, you know, themselves, but they've seen the steps and the work that goes into building it. And they weren't always on the path of, yeah, we're going to be attorneys, we're going to go to law school. They actually had shifted their focus when they were little and they saw me, their mom, as an attorney. That's the first thing that they said, you know, yeah, I want to be a lawyer like my mommy. But when I was working in the big firms and these
Yeah.
other settings, they were like, I don't know, that doesn't really look like what I want to do. And then when we opened the firm in 2017 and they were in high school, they were still relatively young, but we included them in the business and we required them to participate at the level that was appropriate for them at that age.
Hmm.
So it started with, you know, mail and scanning documents and being a runner and, you know, these other administrative and support roles. And through the years, they've become, you know, now they're law clerks. They're going to be graduating from law school, as I
Hmm.
mentioned, shortly. And they'll be taking the bar, hopefully soon becoming licensed attorneys here in
I'm
Nevada.
sure they'll be fine with the bar.
Yes, yeah. So so they've had this opportunity growing up and being involved in the business where Charles and I have conversations with them, you know, all the time. And he's really good about that too. As you know, he's like, he tends to he's like the over communicator. And I try to make sure that I'm making sure that I also, you know, am communicating
Hmm.
in the best way. But they've got these different opportunities and advantages, you know, with growing up with us and
Hmm.
participating in the business, to be able to see things, you know, from start to finish, you know, being on the back end to, you know, moving into these different roles where they know how to do everything between the two of them. They really know how to do everything or what's involved in every
Hmm.
aspect of the business. And so thankfully, I've been so happy that they've decided to go to law school and become attorneys, because now I can pass my firm to the other. I have another attorney that's full time in the office, to Austin and to Kyra and Shira. You know,
Hmm.
if anything were to happen to me, I have that built in as part of my business succession plan,
Yeah.
which is so important to think about on the business side too. Where for business owners, often, you know, we have different pieces of our business in place, but we don't necessarily have the succession or continuity planning that needs to be folded in as part of that.
Yeah, I agree. It's similar to a financial advisor, and what I feel so happy about is knowing that it is, yes, you're my friend and yes, you're my attorney, and I know that in a pinch one of my kids or my husband can call you But I also know that Shira and Kyra are right there,
Mhm.
and that this is an office and a legacy that's going to live on. And similar to a financial advisor, look for someone who is going to be in the business and the industry because they love being in the industry and that they're going to be able to grow with you. I think that that's a really important point, which
Mhm.
speaks directly to a top value of yours and mine, which is relationships,
Yeah. Yeah. It's so
having the right
important.
relationships.
Yeah. And that really that continuity, because I get clients all the time that are like, oh yeah, I worked with this other attorney, but he's passed away or
Hmm.
he's retiring or there's one in particular that's in jail. And so it's like, okay, well, yeah, we get that feedback quite often where they're like, we're looking for something long term. We're not looking for something just for a right now solution. We want to make sure that moving forward, no matter what happens, that there's going to be that relationship and that support moving forward.
That's right. And so I want to impress upon you as you're listening to this episode and as we're closing out this conversation, I can't think of a better gift for you to give yourself and your family than the gift of estate planning.
Mhm.
And estate planning is well beyond the numbers in the account. It's peace of mind for your kids, it's peace of mind for your family. It's got those directives. It's going to require you to think about the impact of your life when you're not here anymore. And it is the most important thing for you to think about this holiday season because tomorrow's not promised. It's not promised for any one of us. And our legacy, we didn't work so hard in our lives to get where we are for it to be squandered or not protected, or God forbid, you can't make decisions for yourself. Your estate plan, you can make those decisions now for yourself, for your health, and for your wealth so that your family can help grieve you. No one wants to think about this, Shane. No one wants to think about it, but it is so important. And so, for whatever reason that you found this podcast, I hope that you're hearing more than ever. Give yourself the gift of a proper estate plan with an attorney and an attorney that cares enough to go through every little detail with you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. And the holidays are a great reminder of just, having these conversations with our family members and getting these, affairs in order. So I would love to offer to anyone that's listening or watching the podcast a complimentary life and legacy planning session similar to what you and Jimmy experienced, where you get to sit down with an attorney in our office, whether it's me or another attorney in our office,
Mm-hmm.
and we budget 2 hours for this
Mm-hmm.
session. We waive the fees, which normally are $1,500, because we actually do the design of your plan as
Mm-hmm.
part of that first session. So it's a working, productive meeting. You're able to ask whatever questions you have. We're there to answer them and really guide you and make recommendations. And I do the design as part of that meeting so that you're able to see it. I'm a visual learner, so I like to be able to see
Me
things
too.
mapped out. And so we incorporate that, we include that as part of that complimentary session so that you can really make the best decisions, the most empowered decisions. And when you decide you want to work with me or work with my firm, then we'll make that, we'll finalize the design, we'll go over the engagement agreement. You actually get to customize your plan. So you're picking what's important to you as far as the features and what it looks like, and you're establishing what that will cost for you. So we're able to make modifications and adjustments based on what your needs are, what your budget is. But that's the benefit of really taking advantage of that complimentary session. So the website
Absolutely.
where you can get more information is younglawlive.com. And we also have an on demand video that's available there. So if you want to get more information on some of the things that Lisa and I talked about today, you'll get a lot of that good estate planning 101 info there.
That's right. Don't delay it. Just do it. You're here. I believe you're listening to this podcast because you want to start making choices for yourself financially, and I'm pointing you in the right direction. So take action. And I want to hear, and Shane and I want to hear all about the things that you're discovering and how excited you are to have your estate plan in place. It matters more than you know.
Yeah. And make sure you mentioned the podcast so
Yeah.
I can also give a $500 discount on any planning that you do decide to move forward with.
Thank you, Shane. That's so generous of you. We're going to end this conversation with a fun, rapid round of my favorite game called This or That. We play this in car rides. It's so fun. I play it with kids too, but we're going to play it today. Are
Okay.
you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird. I like to get up early,
I
although I
do
don't
too.
always get up early. I like
Yeah.
and I stay up late. I'm like, well, I stay up late too sometimes, so but I'd say early bird.
Okay. Beach vacation or mountain cabin?
Beach,
I know that. I know that. Book or podcast?
book. But I'll
Save.
listen to your podcast. Yours is the exception.
Perfect. Save first or spend on joy?
Oh gosh. I get well, according to my test, I'm a spender, so
Yeah.
you spend. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But you have to know Shane is one of the most generous women that I know. And it just it's a testament to how generosity really is the abundance that we're all seeking. Yeah. So spending, yes, but you're like so generous, you're spending on everybody, not just yourself.
Yeah.
Probably more on everybody else than yourself. Cash or card?
Card.
Minimalist or organized chaos?
Ooh. If you ask Charles, it's organized chaos.
I knew it.
I would like to think that I'm a minimalist, but I have, little tendencies to want to keep, keep certain things. So,
I know that about you, friend.
yeah.
Okay, you ready? This is lighter one. Puppies or kittens?
Puppies.
Ice cream or cookies?
Ooh, both. It depends on my mood, but I would say probably, gosh, I'm like almost 50-50 on that. I'd probably give the edge to ice cream.
Playground or video games?
Playground.
Totally.
Yeah.
Summer break or snow day?
Summer.
Swimming pool or trampoline?
Swimming pool.
Are you a water sign? You are.
I'm Capricorn. So
Capricorn?
yeah, but I do love the water. Like I love being close. I love seeing the water, being close to the water. So yeah, finally when we were able to do our pool, it was just like, I just like to look at it, but I do swim.
Okay, so if you're listening to this, I hope that you've gotten to know Shane better. She's one of my best friends. I trust her with my business. I trust her with my family, and I think that speaks so importantly to having a sisterhood of women. And so when it comes to a simple step that you can take toward estate planning today, of course you can call Shane. She's already made that offer, but also have a conversation with a friend. Find a sister in your life, theoretical or actual sister, and talk to them about what's keeping you up at night, because that could be the first step that you need in order to be able to get less overwhelmed in this topic and closer to having your plan, having your estate taken care of. We know where we can connect to you, Shane, and what is it that's on your heart to share with the audience today?
Well, I just want to say thank you. As we're heading into the holidays, it's, this mix of being excited and being thankful, but also, experiencing loss and having like our hearts and our love go to people that have experienced loss recently, knowing that the holidays are going to be a tough time for them. So I think, as you mentioned, just, cherish this time, have the conversations. I'm here as a resource. And I just appreciate you and the work that you do, Lisa. And I'm glad and so blessed to have our worlds connected so many years ago to where we've grown this relationship and become really just best friends. And I love you and thank you.
I love you too. Thank you. What a great way to end the show. This is Real Money, where we make the emotional side of money safe to talk about. And estate planning is emotional more than it is anything. It's about protection, dignity, and peace. Shane, thank you for helping us make this real and accessible.
Thank you.
Yeah, love you, friend.